right in the front.
Okay.
I'm Sadie.
I'm Elizabeth, and I'm letter C.
Oh, I'm E.
Megan, I'm letter B.
Austin, I'm Callie, I'm A.
Right. The first one was the one about the
Yes.
A couple of the things that I wrote about were things that I saw this summer that were really cool. And it's kind of nice to have the classes flip-flop. Like, I know they're supposed to go in the other order, but then some of this stuff I've already kind of seen, so it's kind of really nice. The Burlington Library is really a cool place. I didn't really know, I mean, I knew they had a library, but it's totally set up for the population down there, and they have, one thing that I thought was really cool is they have these star books, and you don't have to have a library card to check them out, so anybody can come in and buy
Yeah,
them.
that's really cool. I thought you were gonna just say like, oh, they have they don't like. You started out by saying like I thought they weren't gonna have books for everyone, but then that I thought that was really cool because I've never really heard of the library.
And their section of books written in Spanish was huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think that's also cool because like I know at the public library in my hometown, like they have like summer reading programs, so like we don't have those kinds of books, so families that don't have library cards would be able to participate and continue like the literacy through the summer, which I think is really cool.
And that's something that they were talking to the kids about when they were there, was their summer reading program, and they had little bookmarks that they were giving them. So that was cool. And then the other thing that I wrote about was the 21st Century Learning program that was a part of that school for the summer. I think could easily be an after-school program, and you could just have, instead of, at our school we have art club and karate, and you have to pay for all of it. And so it fits that culture, but those same classes might not fit other cultures, but you could easily just make your after-school classes fit whatever culture you're working with. So
Like I've been doing the Beats program at Shuckson Middle School. So they have like, right now I want to say they have 5 different enrichments. So you can do like homework and get like homework help because there's a lot of students at that school who probably won't get help with homework like actually at home. And then they have like, you can make your own music. It's like beats on beats. So they have like computer software and you can like put together music. And they have a DIY, so you're just like making projects. And then they actually have a multicultural club now, which I thought was really cool. So like, even though students may not be learning that like in the classroom, there's an option for them to do that after school.
I think it's cool the after school programs because a lot of the students struggle like academically and like they have a hard time learning and stuff, and then to take it outside of the classroom and give them opportunities to do stuff like that they're actually passionate about. I think that's really cool and important.
Like Austin and yours, you were talking about like having a variety of activities, and I think that's like really important for like kids to like find their passion or like that sort of thing. That way, like connects them in like the after school programs. They can connect like with the adults, and it like draws them in and more likely to like come to school because they have that connection that they can continue building.
Yeah, when I worked at Falterwood, they'd have recess, and then so it wasn't really like recess. It was more like they'd play some sports outside for like half of the after school program, and the other half they do homework. And so it was really interesting to see the people who were running it try to connect the games with the math. And so they'd be like, well, when you were bouncing that ball, like what if there were this many balls and all this other stuff? And so that was really interesting. And I was like, that was really smart because they were passionate about playing football for the 25 minutes or whatever. And so that was what motivated me to say that. But then they also did computer work for a section of it, and I thought that was really smart. And a lot of the kids were like, "Yeah, we have computers at home, so this is like the best part of the day. We get to go on the computer and do a math game or whatever."
Well, and for older kids, like middle school and high school, that after school time is like that's when they are making bad choices and doing things, not doing their homework. And their parents are often working and not at home, and so like the school day, they're safe and you keep track of them. But after school, I think is like when some stuff really needs to be available for them.
And then the other thing that happens at Beats is at like 5:15, 5:30ish, they like offer free dinner to the kids also. And it's like a community.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the students, but like high school students or like
students' families will come and they can also get like
That's
free dinner.
Mhm.
So it's like an option for them that like if kids don't have food at home.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah, they have this awesome like 2 hours of like getting to be with their friends, and then they also like get fed.
They expanded that program this year. It used to be like once a month or something.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. It used to be just like once a week or something.
once a week,
Yeah, once a week
yeah.
or something, and now it's like every day.
Every day and anybody.
Yeah.
So
It's
and they
anybody.
don't like ask you at the door like what is your income. It
Yeah.
has to be low
Yeah.
enough for
That's
you to
cool.
eat. It's just if you need it, you come
Yeah.
and show up.
How do
and
they
you get
afford that?
I don't know.
There might
Dr.
be-
Baker's really good with money.
Yeah.
Like he's good with the budget, but it might be a grant or something
I'm guessing
too.
it's a grant because the whole Beats program, it's like a Beats staff. Like they're not teachers that work at the
Oh.
school
Okay.
and then do an after school program. It's like a completely separate staff of like 5 to 10 people who come in and run this after school program.
Another thing that they've increased slowly over the last few years is a snack program, and so it started with all of the title schools. The kids get free snack. Yeah.
There's just a free snack. right
Yeah,
after
they
school.
provide a snack, and the elementaries get it during the day, and it's like a vegetable or something. And then this year, one other elementary, Northern Heights, has snack this year too. So I think they're slowly trying to make it so that all the schools can have it, and I don't know where that money comes from either. If it's a grant or if it's the district.
Probably. I was like a part of the Communities and Schools Board of Directors in Puyallup. Like they had high school members, like one from each school. And so we like went into the schools, like it's an outside organization, and like did like backpacks of love. So like low income families, like we would send home a backpack with food, like for the kids, like for dinner, and especially like over the weekends. Then also did like tutoring programs with the kids, like in reading and math and different activities, which I think is like really cool because like I worked with the math students and like we provided like a snack for them, and then like the one-on-one tutoring, like it was like a lot of high school kids, so they are able to like connect. They're in like fifth and sixth grade, so like going on to middle school, like making that connection, I feel like is really important for them to like see it.
This article.
I thought it was interesting in this article, the studies on how health is affected.
Yeah.
Like I never really thought about like physical health of like students who are here for
Yeah.
a long period of time.
And then
Yeah,
how
I
like
just thought that was interesting.
it's important for teachers to become aware of that also
Yeah.
on top of the other stuff that they're going through.
Especially those like without healthcare, like
Yeah.
like having like if there's like organizations that do like free like eye exams or dental or like hearing, because like I know like we had a girl like the teacher was like, well come on, like why can't you do it? And like she had an eye exam and like she needed glasses, so like she couldn't like see like what she was supposed to be doing. So it's like really sad. Like,
Yeah.
We were talking last time, and I remember about how like immigrant kids know when they're being discriminated against, and it was interesting because then there was a whole my section was about that, and that they do know, and one of the studies was saying that 65% of the students of immigrants that they interviewed have negative, they feel like there's negative views about them. And then, which, I kind of already knew this, but this just kind of really made it clear that when that happens, the super negative effects it can have on their entire life because they kind of, it's that self-fulfilling prophecy, like they think I'm gonna not be successful, so I guess I'm not successful.
And if you keep like hearing things, like negative things, you like are eventually going to believe the stuff that other people think, which is really sad.
Yeah. Well, then it was saying that even if the parents are positive and have a lot of education, that sometimes that doesn't even matter because of all of the social
Yeah.
stuff and the media and just the day-to-day
Well,
negativity.
it's not necessarily just like the stereotypes, like in emotional impact, but also the way it impacts your schools
Mm-hmm.
to like teach them. Like if there's this huge stereotype that this group of immigrants can't learn or they don't have the capacity to learn, teachers in schools teach to that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just furthering
Yeah,
that those other students because they're not even being taught.
Yeah.
I feel like it goes back to that single story
Mm-hmm.
like video and like how we can like break away from that because I feel like it's really hard. Like in the classroom we can try, but like it's a bigger, like
Bigger
it's
than
in
that,
like media and stuff and like in other kids like in their families, like their parents tell them like, oh, like this group like is like this, like that's gonna affect what they bring to the classroom. So it's like how do you break that?
Well, and sometimes it's like the parent doesn't even have to say straight out, it's just all the little comments and
Or like
looks
Yeah.
that, the kids pick up on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then, it comes out in the classroom with their friends.
Mhm.
They think they're just joking, but
Or like out at recess, oh, we can't play, like,
Mhm.
play with you.
Well, it
Like,
spreads from one student to the other and it just
Mhm.
catches on.
Especially that young too, because like I feel like they just do what everyone else wants to do, even more so.
yeah, it's hard to be a leader
Mm-hmm.
when you're little.
Yeah.
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 by myself,
Yeah.
like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like also I was reading about like the students, like the stress that they have, like if like their parents are working and they have to take care of younger siblings and so they don't like have that time for their homework or like, they're more worried about making sure like, oh, like we feed them, that sort of thing, like
Yeah.
how hard that is on the students.
Which people don't often like think of that aspect.
Yeah, sometimes they don't have the opportunity to like be just a
A
kid.
kid, yeah.
So then it's even harder to relate to other kids. Not only are you from a different culture and you speak a different language, but you have all these extra responsibilities that other kids don't have.
That was really evident in the case studies we read for last week was that students aren't just dealing with moving here and racism, but a lot of their parents don't have jobs or have jobs that make them work weird hours. So if they're the oldest, they're taking care of siblings or
Yeah.
they're making dinner or they're doing other things after school that they might not be able to like do homework and focus on school. And
Yeah.
when they do come to school the next day, they're exhausted because they have to go home and be a parent to their
Yeah.
younger sibling. So it's just like their whole world is different than every other
They
student.
have to like mature so much earlier.
Well, and a lot of times, because the student sees how stressed out their parents are, they're not gonna ask their parents for help with their homework, or like, don't have enough going on.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the parent doesn't wanna help, the student understands that it's just one more thing.
No, and like I remember reading that like parents like, want the best for their children just like, white families do, but like they may not have the education or the time and that sort of thing. So it's not that they don't care. They really do. They want their kids to like have a better life than like their own.
Yeah, or they, are coming from a place that was so rural that they never had any school experience themselves. They just don't even know how it works.
They cannot help.
No.
They might really want to be able to help and they just can't help because they themselves have never had school.
Yeah. But my case study student over the summer was her parents were from rural Mexico and they spoke Mixteco as their first language. And she said that where they lived, where their parents grew up was just, farmland. There wasn't any cities and they didn't drive anywhere, so it was just kind of in the middle of nowhere in Mexico and I don't know how they ended up getting here, but I'm sure it was a harrowing journey. It wasn't like they just hopped on a bus and came here. But that it was just interesting to hear her. She kind of knew a little bit about her parents' situation, but not much. And so Mixteco was her first language, but then she didn't learn Spanish until she started going to preschool, and then she didn't learn English until she started going to school. And one of the Mixteco, which I didn't know that language was even a language until my linguistics class, but it's like a version of Spanish. But so it's kind of, there's a couple things that go along with it, like the class system in Mexico is, similar to what we have anywhere, and that's a lower class language. So even when they come to the United States, there's still division between the people who speak Spanish who are from Mexico and the people who speak Mixteco who are from Mexico. And it's not a written language, they don't have any written form of it. So her family, she was saying that her parents, because I asked her, do you think your kids will speak Mixteco? And she said, no, my parents just want me to learn how so even though that's like their culture, just to kind of go up in the Hispanic world,
Yeah.
they don't want her to speak Mexican.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
That is interesting.
In my section of the reading, it talked about how there was this girl that they were studying, and she would rather be categorized as Mexican than Chicana.
Yeah.
I was really close. Anyway, and so they talked about how she personally felt that even though it's generalizing her, she knows that she's going to get more help in school by being Mexican, and so she's like, it's not even like accepting English. She's like, I know that in order to do this, in order to get more help in school, which is what I need, I have to pretty much throw what I know out the window. And I don't know if it's close to Mexican, but it was just really interesting that she's like, that's what needs to be done to get a better education.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yay, we're accepting Mexican people, but now not her. And so it was interesting.
I was thinking about, I remember I read that on yours, like when you check off the list, like there's all the list of races or ethnicities, and you have to check off what you are. There's not,
listed.
they're not all
Yeah.
listed. So then it's
I
like,
just
oh,
googled
you,
it
Other.
really fast, but Chicano is just another term for Mexican American.
yeah.
That's what I thought, but I just.
But they don't put that in the list,
Yeah.
you know?
There's
So
no
then-
Mexican American. You're either Mexican or you're American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's no.
And then
there's
it's like
African American, but there's not really
Yeah.
Mexican American.
Yeah.
And then you have to check the other box, and like which relates to what you were saying about the other.
Yeah.
You're just an other.
Yeah, the article suggests that the fact that immigrant youths must accept the fact that they are culturally, ethnically, racially other.
So sad.
No, it's like, no.
It's like you don't belong to anywhere.
Exactly.
It's like,
Well, and a lot of times, like on some they'll say other and they'll be like, "What are you?" But on most they just leave it at other.
yeah.
Which that's saying nothing. Like you're not getting any. Why are you even having to check box?
Exactly.
Right.
You're not
Like
getting
there's
anything.
like the charge like with like percentages and then it's like other.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a little
it's just
tiny
like a
sliver.
big like
Yeah. Like a mix of
hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Like,
of all
like,
other
you know,
people.
like, they deserve the same like recognition.
Mhm.
That I forgot there was that video too that I watched because it was part of my post, but it was the transcultural kids, and they were talking about so like there could be like two different kinds. One would be like a kid who kind of goes back and forth between Mexico and the United States, and so they kind of feel like they're a part of both. But then a lot of the other kids in that video were they didn't really say, but I think their parents were in the military. And so they lived most of their life in another country. And so when people asked, like, where are you from? They said they never really, like, knew what to say because they were
I was
American,
watching,
but they, lived in Japan their entire life, but then they never felt like they were part of the Japanese culture either.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, where are you from? And all the kids were like, they didn't
Yeah.
say, like,
Yeah,
they don't feel like they like belong
Mhm.
either. I think Callie yours was kind of talking about the transitional, like,
Oh yeah.
or like they don't know.
I think that's what it was trying to get at. I'm just not
Yeah.
entirely sure. But yeah, it was like the rites of passage. So it's like
Yeah.
they might be from somebody from
Mhm.
somewhere else, but they're coming of age in like
Yeah.
America. So they go
It's just
through
like
all
when
the
you're
rites
trying
of
to find
passage
your
of like
identity.
being
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Yeah, I think that's what that one was trying to say.
So how does like saying like they can't get their driver's license because they're like not a citizen.
But
Yeah.
but when you're a kid and you like kind of hear stuff like you're little, you don't really understand.
Yeah.
Like, oh, mom and dad aren't legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I had to read said that oftentimes they don't realize they're illegal until they go to fill out a job or a college application.
Yeah.
And they have to put down a social security number, and that's when it dawns on them,
And
like,
like,
I can't do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous that they don't like. They're not aware of it. Like it's not there.
Yeah, no. I don't know how they would
Yeah, how would
become
they-
aware unless
yeah,
their parents
know.
talked about it.
Yeah.
And also to find out at that point, like
Yeah.
where you're
Yeah.
trying
About
to like
to, like,
get your
get-
life
yeah, and
together.
then you're like,
Like what a just
They
such
have
a
like
frustrating
these
thing.
dreams and,
Yeah.
like, you know, like
Yeah, and that was one thing it was saying in here, how, these negative views of immigrants can, go both ways. So you can become really successful and have that drive, like you say, I can't do it, so I'm going to prove you wrong. But then if you're undocumented,
Then
you
you
get to
can't
that point,
do
you
that.
can't even do it.
Can't do anything.
Yeah, and even when they, like some students, I guess, somehow get through like the hoops to go to college, but then to get a job, you can't,
Mm-hmm.
like, you can't get hired anywhere.
Like there's the one girl, like she like went through school and like had a degree and then she ended up working the same job that her mom did. Like,
Yeah. It's like the
really
reverse of the
yeah.
American dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's everywhere they turn, there's just obstacles that I think, you know.
And then if they're born here,
Yeah.
you have nowhere to go back to
Mhm.
either.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that was one of the other documentation statuses was like children citizens of unauthorized parents. So it's saying like of unauthorized immigrants, like, what was it? 79% of children of unauthorized immigrants are themselves citizens. So like that's a huge number. So these kids are citizens. So they're from here. Their parents are from there. So to them, it's like I feel like it'd be a really confusing thing.
Yeah, and I was
Like I was born here, but my parents are from there, and then
Yeah.
their parents could be sent back,
Right.
Yeah.
and then they're here because that's not their country, so they wouldn't be sent back. They can't be
Yeah.
sent there because they don't have a visa to live there. So you're like orphaned in
Yeah.
this country that
That
you
you're
don't
not
really feel a
familiar-
part of.
yeah.
For sure.
Because like the parents probably don't have the traditions, you
Yeah.
know, and
I'm still a little confused about this. Might be one of our questions. What exactly like makes you? Because if you're born here, you're a citizen.
Yes.
But then why don't you get a social security number?
No, you would. You're a legal citizen if you're born here.
So then some of the situations I thought it was talking about that even if you're born here, if your parents are undocumented, you still don't really have any way to go to college
it
or get a
will-
job.
It might be because I was kind of thinking about it, but it might be because if your parents aren't documented, they don't have insurance. So if you're born here, are your undocumented parents going to go to a hospital?
Right.
Nope. So are you going to be documented?
And then how do you
Probably
even
not.
fill out the
Yeah.
paperwork to
Yeah.
get your kid a social security
Yeah.
number?
So like you could be a citizen, but like, yeah.
But
I don't
how
know.
do you go? Yeah. So that I
That'd
don't.
be a question.
Yeah. And then I was thinking, so a lot of times I'm sure it's two undocumented parents because my sister-in-law she's soon to not be undocumented, but was an undocumented because she came and then her
It's
visa
like-
expired, so
I
she
had-
just stayed here.
I have the mixed status families, and it said 1 in 10 children in America live in a mixed status family.
So one of the parents is undocumented.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at least one.
Yeah.
But it could be, it could mean either or both.
Okay.
So like if I'm a citizen but neither of my parents are citizens, we're a mixed citizen family
Okay.
or a mixed status family.
Yeah.
So like it could be just me as a citizen and like my brothers, or it could be one of my parents. Like
Yeah. And
so yeah.
But if you have one American parent,
Yeah.
then maybe you're gonna be fine. Because like
Hopefully it's your mom.
my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, yeah, and they're like my nephews. They have social security cards. I'm sure they'll be fine. But she was undocumented,
Yeah.
and and the process to like get her citizenship has been crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of
It's
money
It can take like 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
and thousands of dollars,
Yeah. Money.
which you're not gonna have if you're a migrant worker.
No.
Make so many hoops and like it's like going through the process and it's not like they have education to know how to navigate it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and then once they finally cleared all of the United States stuff, then the other Thailand now is like, oh, you want to be a United States citizen, so now you have to jump through all of our hoops and give us money to make this happen.
Well, that's just it. You can't give America money and expect to like live a life after that.
Yeah. There was some crazy statistics in this
Oh, yeah.
second article that I didn't really know about.
Reading the discussion part was really pressing because it was like everything from what is that, like a 15-page article in like 2 pages. It was an emotional roller coaster.
Mhm.
So it was just like really sad thing that's gonna happen to this child. A statistic.
And yeah.
Sad thing. Statistic. And I was like, all right. And then at the end, like it's one positive thing. I was like, okay, there's got to be a point to this, right?
Yeah.
We hope that this furthers more research. I'm like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, like some of the more recent laws, I didn't really know about. I left
Yeah.
my one at home and had to reprint this. But just some of the stuff in Arizona, maybe it was in the videos.
The videos were
Well, like also like just in like the different like average life expectancy of like migrant workers versus like the national. Like
National's
migrant-
like 70.
75
yeah.
versus
Yeah.
migrant workers are like only 49.
49, yeah.
Like, it was so sad. Like I was reading like how like the kids are working in the fields and like pesticide is sprayed.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, it's just like
Oh, here were the stats on undocumented parents. So it's 41% of so there's 14.6 million people are living in some sort of food status home. 41% have one documented parent with the other parent undocumented. 39% have two undocumented parents, and 20% live in households headed by a single undocumented parent. So like they're citizens and their one parent is not. Like those are crazy numbers for
Yeah.
like only 40%. It's like I have two parents and one of them is undocumented. So
Yeah.
that's like my parents met and like one of them lived here. Like 39%.
Well, I know one thing that kind of like surprised me at the beginning of this was I was talking about there's more immigrants in the country now than there ever has been. And
Yeah.
we've been trying to like stop immigrants from coming all these years and it hasn't done anything, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like, why do we keep
Yeah,
trying?
like why? Yeah.
Yeah, we spend so much money on
Trying to stop it. Like, why
Trying
don't
to
we just
stop it.
create a better system?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I feel like watching it
Easier,
way less
yeah.
money and half the time.
Yeah.
And then
It was, like,
also
in
there
one of
was-
our articles, wasn't it? It might have been last week, but it was talking. It might have been for a different class too. I don't know. But it was talking about how like immigration is already a crappy system, and it just like keeps getting more and more broken because
we keep trying to
waves of
control.
people
Yeah.
come in,
Uh-huh.
and this huge influx of people screws up the entire
Yeah.
screws up the whole system because there's so many people and it's not a system equipped to handle that many people.
It's
So
an
it falls apart
inefficient
all over
system,
again.
yeah.
And anytime they try to rebuild it, this huge influx of people
Yeah,
comes in,
exactly.
they can't handle it.
No, that was the other one. That was one of the statistics that surprised me was that the United States is 5% of the world's population, but 20% of we have about 20% of all unauthorized migrants in the world.
Wow.
So because people want to come here, you
Yeah.
know, they've always wanted to
Yeah.
come to the United States, and then
And they get here.
they get here.
This is
Not so awesome.
It's
It's
just
just
here.
indirect that like this country might be nicer to you.
I know. That's what I was saying to
Well,
my
that's the
husband.
America is like, you know, we're the greatest, we're the best, we do everything the best, and it's like, oh no, you want to come here? No, you can't do that.
You're not allowed.
We're not good at that.
Mm-hmm.
We're just good at everything else.
We're just going to be the best for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's all
We
we
don't
care
wanna
about.
share.
Yeah.
But we're actually not the best.
Yeah.
Even though we're saying we're the best.
Yeah.
Anyway, Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. You get free healthcare there too.
Exactly.
Oh, I ran into that at the grocery store the other day. It was really weird. I don't know him, but he just like started talking to me about the healthcare system in Canada. I was like, okay. But he was like, yeah, people down here think it's free, but it's not really free. He was like, I'm on the list for open heart surgery right now. I was like, oh, I just met you 2 seconds ago. I don't even know your name.
Oh my God.
And he was saying like it's free, but like he is on a list, but has to wait. Like he's been waiting for 2 years, and he still has at least 6 months. So it's like it's free, but like if you're in
Still
America and I need an open heart surgery, you go and you get an open heart surgery and you pay
Yeah.
for it when you need it.
Yeah.
And not that it's that easy because you have to
Yeah.
pay for a transplant.
Yeah.
But in Canada, he's like, I've just been on a list. Like it's not even that
Yeah.
they're waiting for a donor heart.
Just
or like
like,
just
they're
the
just
surgery.
Like, just a
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Wow.
So it's like money gets you really far in America.
Yes.
And like things might be free other places, but there's a huge toll.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There's a price to pay for it in
Mhm.
other ways.
Right.
Like things, no matter what it is, it's not free.
Yeah.
Your own money or whatever else.
Yeah. Your life.
Yeah,
whatever.
your
Yeah,
life,
it's
yeah.
not even might be free like as in money, but
Yeah.
you could also die waiting to get surgery.
I feel like that's how everything is now. It's either, you know, free or in any aspect. It's
Yeah.
like it's gonna take a toll on you,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
You want to talk about the videos? That was my favorite part.
Me too. I really, those are happy.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really depressed. Here's some videos.
Yeah, and that the guy is laughing while listening to that. The
The
man at the
chanting.
third one.
About the chanting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see, he's rude. This is
Yeah. There's
The
rude
chanting in the back tells you how like they're teaching them to be so rude. And
Yeah.
That
It's
was
like,
like really
I
tiny.
hate America or something. And I was like,
It's
oh my
like,
God.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did he ever go back and like listen to himself? Because it's
I
just
hope.
you're talking about Martin Luther King, and then you're accusing Mexicans
Yeah.
of being racist.
It's like, really?
But like, you're talking about the Martin Luther King speech, and do you know how many people there were shouting and screaming and
Yeah.
it's not
and
like
in front of
it's
him was all
yeah,
white people.
I know.
It's not like it was a silent,
Yeah.
like peaceful speech
Yeah.
that he gave, and, and everybody around him was like, "Yeah, I agree. Let's sit in the circle and like, discuss this." No, it was like
Yeah.
it was racism. He was not accepted
Yeah, exactly.
at the time
Right.
by a lot of people.
Right. Which is the whole point of Martin
Yeah.
Luther King.
Yeah, it's like, why
I know,
are
and
you
he
using
was
that?
comparing that. I was like,
I know.
what? It just,
Oh,
it just
quite
doesn't
appalling.
make sense.
And then I was so happy to see that they brought it back. So they had like banished this program, and then 3 years later they brought it back.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
If you watch like the whole movie, I want to say there's a piece where the students actually go to like the Capitol building or wherever the
Oh, yeah.
legislatures, and they like camp out
Mm-hmm.
because nobody will talk to them. They won't listen to them, so they sit there until like people will talk to them.
Yeah.
Because all these legislators just walk by and ignore them,
Okay.
so they just like sit there. They literally sit in like a corridor,
Like that's awesome.
with signs and stuff. Like, okay, well if you're not gonna like listen to us, we're just gonna sit here and be a presence,
Yeah.
so you can't ignore us.
Well, and the program was open to anybody. So
Yeah,
it wasn't just for
Yeah.
Latinos.
Yeah, it wasn't some after school program where it's like you have to be Latino. It's
It's like
like these are just
exclusive, yeah.
these are just classes we have.
Yeah, and there was some white kids mixed
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
My husband said when he lived in Chicago for a little while, and their school was giant. It was almost like a college. They had so many different electives, and he said they had all of these different things. And we could do Latino studies or African American studies,
Yeah.
and it was really. He did it before he went to Spain for a thing in high school, and it was really cool to
Yeah.
learn about the culture before you were
Yeah.
immersed in it.
Yeah.
So
But the reason there's not as many white students in these classes is obviously because I'm from America.
It's not
I,
their culture.
Yeah, it's
I
not
want
their
to learn
culture,
about
yeah.
my history and my culture. Like these
Yeah.
students want to learn about their history and their culture.
Which they should be able to.
Yeah.
It's like we all.
I think that's what I wrote. I was like,
It's
so,
like an American.
I was like,
it's like
it's
an
an
history
American
class.
history
Yeah.
class. Like you're teaching me about my history and where I come from.
So
like
they
they're
should
just
be
learning about their
allowed-
history.
Yeah, just like we don't really want to learn about the history because we want to learn about ours first. They shouldn't have to learn about ours first and then learn about theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you need to know about yourself before you can like learn about
And it
others.
wasn't-
Like
And it's
know
not
where
talking
you
about
come from.
glorifying Mexico or it wasn't like it was like it was literally talking about their culture
Their
and how it came
roots,
to
yeah.
America and like what their culture looks like in an Americanized society. Like it's not like, oh you guys should all go back to or, like we should bring Mexico
Yeah.
here. It was like this is what's happening,
Yeah.
like this is your life here and how it's integrated into this whole system.
Yeah.
And like teaching them about it. It's not I don't know. I just thought it was the government is crazy.
And I thought it was really cool too, like how like they like brought in the families because like you know they're like super like you know based with their family and wanting to do well and like doing like the dinners and stuff.
And how like the parents were able to read the books that the students are reading. I thought that was really cool because that's important for the parents to be involved also.
there was something in there, I think something we read too, that said instead of bringing the school to the community,
Culture.
the
Yes.
community needs to be that comes first, and the
Yeah.
school becomes a part of the community.
Yeah.
So which was huge.
And how the teachers like wanted to get to know the parents too. I think that's important.
One thing I was thinking about in relation to that is how, so in those videos, those two male teachers were both Latino. And then this summer, in the program I was doing for ELL classes, a lot of the teachers were Latino. And so I was thinking, what if that was me? Like, how would you, it's like, yeah, or how would you, like, make them aware that you want to, like, immerse yourself in their culture and you're not just,
Instead of just like pretending to,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think that would be a tricky thing to, you'd have to
Go.
like establish yourself for a while in that school
Yeah.
before they would trust you, but it would be a little bit of a different situation than just being Latino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Saying, I value my culture, so I'm gonna teach it to you.
Yeah.
You know, that would be your culture.
How like they're able to like speak in like their language,
Yeah.
like at the beginning of each day, I thought was really cool and like learn what it meant to like, you know.
Like that thing that they said every class. It was
Yeah. And like
you are my
catch.
other me or
Uh-huh.
something.
They said that every day this summer too, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen these videos yet.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's just like a part of their, that's what they do. It wasn't just the program that did
Yeah.
that.
I feel like as a teacher not from that culture, it would have to be obviously more student taught. I don't know if that's the right way
Yeah.
to say it, but like more of them
About them.
researching
Yeah.
and figuring things out on their own,
Mm-hmm.
and you supporting that rather than you standing up in front and
Yeah.
talking about where they come from because
Yeah. Because
they're from there and you're
Yeah.
not.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be more
The students teaching you.
yeah, the
Yeah.
students teaching you and
Exactly.
you facilitating them like
Mhm.
how can you find out more about
Yes.
this?
Like inquiry.
Yeah.
Which I feel like would make them also more passionate because they're like, oh, someone else wants, like our teacher wants to learn about
Yeah,
us.
they want to
and
learn
we
and they
can
want to help me
Yeah.
learn about myself.
Mhm.
At the same time, I feel like a teacher with a different culture could still teach it because
yeah.
you know, I don't know, I guess because we're looking at it as I'm going to teach you your culture versus I'm going to teach you about this culture.
Yeah.
And so I think that looks at differently because
Yeah.
I mean, think about the American culture. I've had teachers that are
Yeah.
teaching me history.
Yeah.
I've never been like, whoa,
What?
this is not your culture. Like, you don't know what I know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, cool, that happened.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good job, America.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, really it's kind of like we're learning about this culture together.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna teach you about it, but you're gonna teach me about it too because
Yeah.
it's your culture.
I think it would just be a lot more student
Driven.
student driven rather than because the teacher who is from that culture knows
Mm-hmm.
what students are going to need to hear and what is
Yeah.
important. Whereas I wouldn't know. So it would be me teaching them maybe about the history, like factual,
Exactly.
but
then
they would bring in
actual
like the personal
yeah.
rituals and
Yeah.
all of that
Which I
stuff.
think would be awesome to be the teacher and see
Oh,
all
that
that
would be
together.
so cool.
The other thing I've been thinking about, like from the teacher's perspective, is so like my current situation, I don't have any ELL students, but I have students from other cultures, but it's kind of like they're the only one. So I have, a student whose mom is where is she from? From Thailand. And then I have a student whose dad is African American and his mom is Mexican. And then I have a student whose parents are Chinese. And so I've been thinking about, and then most of them are white American English speaking students. So, how to bring culture into the classroom, but with all those different cultures and only one student and not making them feel singled out in any way. So my plan is, we'll see if I can do it, but I looked on Teachers Pay Teachers for some stuff, and there's like some cool like family heritage stuff that you could do, like an at-home project, and it was
Yeah.
kind of like one thing each week, and they bring it in and share it, and so then
Instead of like
everybody
in
everyone
class.
Mhm.
Yeah.
so they have to interview a family member and learn more about, because some of them probably just don't even know that much about their own family
Yeah.
history. So I think that might be something really cool to do, and then you can kind of hear everybody's story.
And everyone can learn.
Because even if some of the white students might have German backgrounds or Irish, and so it
Yeah.
bring it more.
Yeah, if they can know where, because really we all came from
Somewhere,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't have
that's
to be
where
your
you
parents, it can be your
Yeah.
Yeah.
great grandparents or
Because then everyone could have a different culture that they're bringing. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like I know when I was in elementary, one of my teachers, like around the holidays, like since in school like you can't celebrate, like she got away with it by celebrating all of the different holidays. So we like would learn about like Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and like everything and like that sort of thing. So like bringing in like different traditions and like we would spend a day in each. Like we would like read stories and like she would give us information and then like if they had any special traditions we had to like participate in those.
It's cool.
What time we started?
Or 17. What did you say? I think it was like, I looked at it, it was like 4:20 and it started a couple minutes before.
I looked at 4
Well, one other thing like the girl was talking about how like the teacher helped her like feel more confident and like her being able to have a voice and like the civic engagement and that sort of thing, because like a lot of them like don't know, like you know, they feel like with the stereotypes like that, you know, people aren't viewing them in a positive light, so helping them come out of those shadows.
I know I liked how he said, you know, when these stories aren't the ones that are being told, then you become the historian yourself. And so you, as a student, have to go and spread your history and educate people about your history, because it's not what's being told. Yeah. He was a cool teacher.
His little jokes.
Yeah. Well, and I liked his point, you know, I don't know who says you're not supposed to be entertaining as a teacher, but maybe that's when you're, you know, for older kids, I don't know, but elementary kids, like, you have to be entertaining. So you know, and it's not going to derail things, really, like that girl was saying, it makes you connect with that person.
Because it's a more personal level. You're not just seeing like a straight face, like them teaching or telling them what they need to learn. It's like more of a friendship kind of.
Like see them as an actual human. It's like oh, this is my teacher. They live at school. Like how many kids in elementary school are like, oh, my teachers don't have lives.
They're just a teacher.
Just like you're saying, like how you share, like you know, things from your personal life, so the kids can like connect and like know they're not the only one.
And it's just the same thing, like just being human, like admitting that you make a mistake, or you know, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect just because you're the teacher, or admitting that you don't know something. Like if they ask you a question, and just let's look it up. Let's research it together.
Because then it shows them that you know they're not wrong if they don't know and it's a question.
Do a good old teacher move. How can you look that up?
Go find out what it is.
How do you think we can find this information?
Like, oh, good idea. Let's do that.
What would be a good resource? One of the other things I thought was an interesting question that she had asked was like, how did the students become more engaged in their classes? And I kind of took that as in like their other classes, not just their multicultural classes. I don't know. So I just thought that was interesting to think about. It's like how once they knew where they came from and were able to identify themselves and had a connection with other students and were able to form connections with teachers, it translated into the rest of their school, that they were more interested in other things because of where they had come from and what they knew about themselves.
Well, and that teacher, like you were just saying, helped them feel like they could do it. You know, it helped gain that confidence in those classes where they maybe felt more comfortable, and then they could take those skills to something else.
Instead of being like the shy one that you know, like you don't, you know, if you have like a question, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't, you know, want to feel like the only one, you know, like stupid or something. What are the other people gonna think? Like being able to raise their hand and participate in class instead of like, I know like some teachers in high school like just call on kids and like that's like difficult, you know, for the students feeling singled out.
My jigsaw was talking about like academic engagement and stuff, and that really relates to the videos because like they have to be motivated, and those teachers are really motivating them to like learn about like giving them stuff that they actually want to learn about. It's not just like boring stuff. It's like it makes them more engaged.
And one thing that I read about a lot that has to do with engagement in the future was that sense of hope, and the hope is like the number one thing that makes them successful. And so if they're engaged and they're motivated, they're going to have that sense of hope that someday this is all going to lead to something. You know,
and the teachers need to also like take part in that. Show them that having hope will, you know, get you where you want to go. Hopefully,
So you're undocumented.
And
you can't help you much. The laws, which is so frustrating.